Oh yeah, yeah. That was it. Happens like that. Anyway, welcome back to Fox in the Dock. I am your one half of your host, Star Fox, and with me as always
Yes, sir.
is the Doc himself, Dr. Delroy Brooks. It's
How you
good
doing?
to be back, Your Honor.
Yeah,
You know what I
Your
mean?
Honor, that's a little high,
No,
but
that's all
that's all
right.
right.
You was gone for a minute. You you
Yeah.
rolled you rolled out.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir. We had to take care of some business.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? And you notice I didn't ask a whole lot of questions about that
Yes, sir.
because you said that. So today's topic or today's episode,
Yeah.
we need to talk about what real ministry is.
Okay.
Because remember, this is letters to a young minister.
Right.
So for myself, the reason why this is a question is because early on in my ministry, and I am a very outgoing person. I like
Mm-hmm.
to connect with people, and I recognize God's hand in my life because part of ministry is me sitting in a room much like this one, sitting
Mm-hmm.
down and reading a book, being still,
Mm-hmm.
which to me is 101
Mm-hmm.
for in-house ministry or the preaching ministry, and I'm not used to that. However, there was a little a few liberties taken
Okay.
in terms of what real ministry actually is.
Okay.
So I just went through this phase where if I'm with my youth, this is ministry.
Uh-huh.
And looking back on it, not all of it was ministry.
Mm-hmm.
Hanging out does not necessarily qualify as ministry in all situations. There may come a time when that's necessary,
Mm-hmm.
but if I'm hanging out with my young people to avoid doing something else,
Mm-hmm.
that's where I'm falling down. So give your brother some clarity about real ministry. Young minister just got his church.
Yeah. Uh I think one of the things that we come up with often is what are we supposed to be doing, and the in ministry is something that we can do, and it is something that we can be.
Okay.
And many times if you're in and I think this is where in some denominations things can get muddy, because you see yourself as the minister, the prelate, the pastor, the apostle, the bishop
All right.
all the time.
Right.
And so it's not just a title, it's who you are.
Right.
And in that regard, that means you never turn off. You're always this. And then it gets difficult then, because you're going to be burnt out. Even if you enjoy what you're doing, at some point you got to know, how do I take time away from this? Jesus himself took time away from the people and he went up to a mountain to pray. He took time away from the disciples and he went to Gethsemane. He took time away to be by himself so that he could recharge. So I think when you're talking about being in ministry, you also have to know, all right, when am I going to take time away? What is ministry? Ministry is so simple. It is the act of doing something to help somebody else.
Okay.
That
Well,
is it.
okay.
So when we go into ministry as vocation or paid vocational ministry,
Right.
now we're looking at, well, what are the list of things that
Job
I will be
description.
doing in
Okay.
order for me to to devote my time to helping other people.
Okay.
Part of that time in my ability to help others, if you're in primarily preaching ministry, is
Right.
going to have to be time that I spend in study. I cannot preach from and you cannot be poured out. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So I myself must always be in the process of being filled up so that I could do, like I think it's is that Ephesians 4, where it to be in season and out of season, to
Right.
be available to preach all the time.
Yeah.
Then we're able to do that.
Well,
But ministry is simply being prepared to be a help to someone else.
we don't have nearly enough time to go into this.
Okay.
However, as you know, I've given my time to studying temperaments,
Mm-hmm.
and I can tell you something about that cup. that when, as a young minister, you are not careful, and it's not about a cup being half empty or half full. A person with my temperament, a sanguine temperament, you don't know that you're empty and you think that you are full. It's like that weird. You ever been in a car with a person that the needle is near E and they driving like, and you like, so we gonna hit a gas station or what?
That's how I drive.
Oh, so you are that person.
I am, because we walk by faith, not by sight, man. I can't be stuck on what I'm looking at, brother.
All right.
You got to know it.
All right. No problem. So then with that being said, obviously we got 3 questions on this subject.
Yes.
And the first one is, where should I look for ministry opportunities? So the context is I've been hired. I have a church. I have found in my experience, and I still consider myself young in ministry, don't have nearly as much skin in the game, but the church itself can be very confining to where before COVID, I teach lessons and I preach sermons. Once COVID happened, I had to stretch, and it's something you said just a moment ago, because it's content creators, me on this podcast, I am the fox, but that is a character. But so there's Fox, and then there's Pastor Ken, and then there's just Ken. And so I think you're right. I have to know, where do I fall within this, because Fox almost devoured Pastor Ken. They in that they almost became one person because of my pursuits in content creation, which is no good. But then just Kenny was almost consumed by Pastor Ken, that if I'm not this, then who am I? And I had to pull away from that, and I found relief, if you will, and looking for ministry opportunities that laid outside of the church, that helped me to not just to pour into people, but to have them pour into me, that Kenny is enough.
See, my question, you're asking, the question is,
where should I look for ministry opportunities?
And I would say you shouldn't look for ministry opportunities.
Okay.
Because I think when we're talking about you're a young minister, you have a church. What you're looking for then is, how do I get refilled?
Okay.
So it's not about and if there's another place where you can minister and they're getting refilled as well, that's possible. But I think when you're looking at being in ministry, your first church, your first district, whatever that is,
right.
That's going to be your primary work, unless you have a family, because then your family is the primary work.
Okay.
Right? So if you have this place where you'll be serving, you are preparing messages, you are preparing teachings, you're doing Bible studies, you are fellowshipping with your members, you're visiting members, that's a lot.
Yes.
So because of that lot, if you're going to be pulling away like Jesus did, then what are you pulling away to do? You're pulling away to rest. Right. You're pulling away to recover. You're pulling away to be refreshed so that you can continue to do the work that is called upon you to do at your parish, at your church, in your community. So I don't know that you're actually looking for other opportunities. I think what you're talking about is not for someone who is beginning in ministry. You're talking about somebody who's been in ministry, because now you're looking for the next challenge. You're looking for, is this all that I am? So now you're looking for ways to, because in the looking for something else, you're actually looking at, how can I grow me? Because being in this local context, I am no longer being stretched in the way that I used to be. So now I'm looking to be stretched a little bit more. Am I at a space where I could take on something else to do? And that something else could be going back to school. That something else could be, let me learn about something. Let me get a certification. Let me do whatever that is, because you need something. You're realizing that your while you've gotten it down a little bit at the ministry spot,
Right.
you need to expand who you are so your ministry can also grow. And for some, that doesn't mean that they have to actually do anything different at their church. It just means I need a new mission. I need a new vision. And so I think those are the things that you have to know the answers to. And you talking about the three versions of yourself, I would ask you, why can't all three work harmoniously? What is it? What's the difficulty for the fox to be involved in ministry where the fox serves, where the pastor can't incorporate the what he's learned from the fox from the pulpit? And why don't the fox and the pastor lean into Kenny when they need to be refreshed? When everybody needs some time, Kenny can be like, "Oh, let's go chill." Okay. Those are all parts of you. You don't have to. In one respect, I don't think you have to have everybody separated. You just got to know who you are when.
Well, the short answer to that is that, and it's weird because in a 24-hour period, it's highly likely no one will call me by my name. And that can just go on and on and on.
When you say call you by your name, what does that mean?
When you just referred to me as Kenny, it was like, I haven't heard that name in a while.
Your wife don't call you Kenny?
No.
She call you Poo Poo. What she call you? She got some nickname for you?
Brother, it depends on what's going on in the house. You know what I'm saying? It might be,
don't say it if it's something special for y'all.
No, it's just, sometimes it just rhymes.
Okay,
and it's okay, so now I need to jump to this. But I think often what happens, the short is that Fox, whoever that person is, because there's some work that didn't happen beforehand, which I think is what I was actually getting at in that question, is that whoever this character is, that was dictated to Fox. But also, it was dictated to Pastor Ken, who Pastor Ken is. Because when I say looking for ministry opportunities, you married me and my wife, and ministry for us, even when we first started, was kind of stale because I was in a church that did not want visitation. I was in a church where sometimes some of the young people were pulled away because I don't speak Spanish. And they wanted their kids in a place where they would hear the language in the church, that kind of thing. So when you're looking, well, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? I'm just sitting here on my hands, kind of thing. It's like, I need something to do. And once I found, that thing to do, I had to take a step back again and say, well, how much of this is actually ministry? Because I don't know that I'm helping you as much as just being here with you. I understand that can be a help, but you're also correct that I'm not being refilled from this. So maybe that is what I was looking for.
Yeah, because I think so often when it comes to ministry is draining because we're constantly pouring out when it comes to that.
Right.
And I think there is a way of being that should allow us, whether that is in your early morning time or maybe it's midday time, but whatever it is that you have to spend time with God in order for you to be able to serve others, then whatever comes, you're glad to be a part of and to do. You're comfortable there. The struggle is getting into doing the work of ministry, but never allowing God to minister to you before you go do the things. So we're going to do all the things for God, but God is not included in the things that we're doing.
Wow.
So then we're literally we're going from the empty cup.
Okay.
And that's where you'll find more of your pastors with dealing with burnout. More people succumb to temptation. More people want to give up or even take their own lives because they did not catch that they had not created the space for God every day. This week, we're going to be doing some talking about discipline And for every pastor, every ministry leader, every person that's in ministry, there's a discipline to doing the work that allows us to keep doing the work. And if you don't create in your life a discipline of spending time, whether it's alone with God, some people got to do it in nature. That's not me, but
Yeah.
I can do that every now and again, and I see value in it. It's just not what I'll do regularly. Regularly, it's I need some time. I need to listen to God's word. I need to listen to music and just be still.
Right.
And that could be 2 minutes. It could be 15 minutes. Sometimes it could be up to an hour.
But see, I think that goes back to what I was saying. And you're right. They should be able to work harmoniously. But I think that's the thing. It's the discipline. Because two of these versions of the same person, whoever that person is, that was dictated to you.
Mm-hmm.
See, there's some content creators. I don't know what Fox is until people start watching and taking in my content. Then I know what direction I'm going in. But then I just allow the audience that I didn't even know existed to dictate to me what I should be doing. I didn't have a choice. However, to what you just said, without that discipline, that harmony can't happen, because for a young minister, and I'm saying this on purpose, and I hope somebody catches it and it saves someone. Studying for a sermon is different than studying for your own fulfillment.
That's true.
And I got wrapped up in that. If I'm studying for a sermon, then this is for me, so that takes care of this. Wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong. That you got to create. I think you're right. You have to create that time.
Right.
No, it's okay.
And I think you're familiar with this, so I'm going to do it quickly. Everybody has things in their life that they're involved in. This is the big stuff for us. It's the everything else in our world, right?
Right.
That's that. But then inside of that, I'm looking for another. Thought I had a smaller plate. Inside of that, we need to have a spot that is for, to make this a little smaller so this makes sense. Okay. A man named Chuck Miller taught me this a number of years ago when I had joined a spiritual leadership group called The Journey out here. I had a scissors around here. Do you see a scissors on it?
No.
Desk. I have so many things on this desk. Where is it? Where's my scissors? Anyway, so Chuck Miller taught us this thing. I'm gonna make this a little smaller so that it'll make more sense. So you say this is our world, right? Right. That's the stuff of the world and all the things in it, right? Okay. So outside of the world or inside the world, they're the things that we care about. This is going to be my smaller plate. All right. That's going to be our family, the places where we minister. Okay. Right. The folks who we care about. Right. So the folks that we care about are inside the world. Okay. Right. Then we'll have another one in here. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. So just threw out the one that was full.
It's sorry. You though.
I'm sorry. All right. So within the people that we love, that we care about, we've got us. So this is us, you, me, our persons. This is the people that we care about, that where we work, where we minister. And this is the world underneath that, right? Right. And then this will be God, right? Okay. For each and every one of us, God is pouring, and He pours into us. Right. He doesn't stop pouring. He keeps pouring. He's always pouring. right?
Right.
Our job is to be available to receive that which God is giving. If we take time to do it or whatever, the pouring never stops. Pouring's always going on.
Right.
And if take some more God here.
Okay.
So look, I'll use this one then now because this will make it make more sense. So as the pouring is always going on, we get filled up.
Right.
But once we get filled up to the top, what happens?
Overflow.
Overflow. What does it overflow to?
It overflows to the people we care about.
Uh-huh. And then from there, where does it go?
Into the world.
All right. But if we do not take the time, now the bigger thing is how are we able to get the overflow to the people and to the world? When God fills us up, for each and every one of us, when we go out to minister, we should be ministering from overflow, not from what I had left. You see, because if this doesn't come out over this, that means I'm taken out of here. There's nothing going back in. But God is always pouring. So how is it possible that I could be empty? That means I wasn't listening. I stopped paying attention to God. Well, you know what happens when we pour on the back of this? Everybody gets blessed around us. And except we don't get, except us.
This is why I don't talk to you.
But and that was probably one of the most profound things I had ever learned in my, at that time, I don't know, I might have been my early 40s when I learned that.
Okay.
Or maybe it was late 30s. I can't remember. It was when we first got here.
Right.
So that's a good 20 years ago now. Almost 20. We've been here for 18 years.
Yeah.
And I learned this was within the first 3 years of us being here. So it's a little more than 15 years ago that we got this teaching. And I've always kept to that. So even no matter how ministry was going for me, one thing I did remember and always know that I had to have is some time where I am available to be filled. When we don't make ourselves available to be filled, we do exactly what I was just talking about. We start using what we got left. And when that's gone, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So we can talk about giving to people. What we giving them is a whole lot of nothing. It's a whole lot of air. We get resentful of all the people that look like they're doing stuff, and it doesn't seem to make sense why they could do what they're doing. And you know, I'm more talented than that. I know more than them. I've been more places. Why does it seem like what they're doing is blowing up, and what I'm doing has me stagnating?
Mm-hmm.
When water isn't flowing, which is the other part of this analogy, when the water isn't moving so that it gets to overflow, have you ever seen something that is just stagnant?
Of course.
What happens with stagnant water?
Well,
stagnant water stinks.
Yeah.
Stagnant water attracts bugs.
It sure does.
Stagnant water creates mold.
It destroys whatever it's...
But here's the thing. Stagnant water doesn't destroy anything. Stagnant water allows things to grow. But what grows is not beneficial to the ecosystem. So when you've got stagnant water, what it attracts now you got things that feed off of other things. So you got algae that comes out. Algae is good for the system, but then you'll also get your mosquitoes.
Uh-huh.
And mosquitoes, we know they live off the blood of animals and people. And can you imagine that when we don't have ourselves open so that we can serve from overflow, what we will ultimately do is watch the people around us be eaten up.
Okay.
By what we didn't do.
Okay.
So it is beneficial to those to whom we are to minister to and to the world ultimately that we keep ourselves open for God to pour into us.
Then I'll say this as we move on to the next question.
Go ahead to the next question, brother.
I'll say this then. For young ministers coming into the ministry, be therefore, see, I got to talk biblically. Be ye therefore careful now. Be careful what you're doing with Netflix, with Disney Plus, with Peacock, with Hulu,
Mm-hmm.
and
How you-
any outdoor activity and content creation, because these are the things that are vying for your time. And if you and you can lie to yourself and tell yourself that this is ministry, but
Well-
but I'm saying that it is possible that you tell yourself that something is ministry and you're actually empty. You have to be present. You have to, because he's made, according to your analogy, ample provision has been made. He's always pouring.
Right.
So you just want to make sure that you're ready to receive what he's pouring.
Mm-hmm.
And don't walk away from that. Well, I'm out here doing ministry. You just keep pouring and I'll come back over here. Learn and minister from overflow.
That's the major thing.
Right.
That's the major point.
So
Minister
then-
from overflow.
Okay, so quickly then. Am I truly a minister if I'm not in a church?
Ministry takes place at every level because I told you that ministry is simple. It is serving others.
Absolutely.
So ministry doesn't require you to be at a church.
Okay.
Vocational ministry under denominational rules will say you have to be hired. You can be hired someplace and be involved in ministry, or you could be involved in the work of ministry and actually not be doing ministry at all.
Okay.
I would say for anyone, and another young man that I mentor from time to time, and I told him, you need to know why you're here.
Okay.
I remember, and I've said this a few times from something I heard Dr. Myron Edmonds say once. He says, all of us, was it Edmonds that said it? It might have been somebody else. All of us are the answer to a question.
Okay.
We need to know what question we answer. And that's basically, what is my purpose? Why am I here? You've
Okay.
been made in this shell. Psalm 139 reminds that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. All of us have been made for something. We've been given certain gifts.